Hello, listeners and viewers. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Dr. Rizwan Ahmad, Head Associate Professor of English, Vinoba Bhave University, Hazaribagh. I would like to welcome you all in today's English Literature series. And the book which I am dealing today is A Passage to India, written by A.M. Forster. A.M. Forster, as many of you know, was born in the year 1879 in London, and he wrote 5 novels: Where Angels Fear to Tread, The Longest Journey, A Room with a View, Howard's End, and A Passage to India. The novel A Passage to India was written in the year 1924. It was published in the year 1924. One more very famous book on criticism which he has written is very famous, that is Aspects of the Novel, in which he deals with the various aspects, the things which are needed to write a novel. Now, the age in which this Forster was born was an age of disillusionment and decay, and there was the impact of the First World War on English literature. And one more thing which we find is the growth of democracy, nationalism, and socialism during this age. Now, the question arises, what are the themes on which E.M. Forster writes his novels? He deals with the theme of fission and fusion. Then the other thing which he deals is with human relationship. That means racial problems which were there during that time. Another theme which we find in the novels of E.M. Forster is the failure to connect. Now, let us deal with the novel A Passage to India. It is divided into 3 parts: mosque, caves, and temple. They are all symbolic in nature. Mosque stands for brotherhood and unity. Caves stands for disintegration and disillusionment, and the temple stands for unity and love. Now, Mrs. Moore and Adela Quested, they come to India in order to see real India. The Indian character whom they meet in the mosque is Dr. Aziz, a medical practitioner in the city of Chandrapur. Now, the city of Chandrapur is nothing else but the modern city of Patna. The novel A Passage to India was dedicated by E.M. Forster to his friend Sayyid Ros Masood, the grandson of Sir Syed Ahmad, who founded the famous Aligarh Muslim University. When Forster came to India, he came thrice to India, but when he came, he visited and met his friend at Aligarh, and then he went to meet him at Patna, where he was a barrister. Now, when the 2 characters, Mrs. Moore and Adela Quested, come in the mosque, they meet Dr. Aziz. Now, he is a very impulsive kind of man, very emotional. He gets very much delighted to see these English ladies, and he invites them to go for a picnic. And the place where they intend to go for a picnic, for a tour, is nothing else but the Barabar Hills of Gaya, which has been fictionalized as the Malabar Caves in the novel. Now, what happens in the cave? That is the central theme of the novel. As I have told you that E.M. Forster deals with personal relationship, so we find that the novel A Passage to India also deals with the same thing. But in the first part of the novel, Mosque, we find the friendship between the English and the Indians take place. But in the second part of the novel, in the caves, when the English ladies and the Indian Dr. Aziz goes to visit the caves, disintegration takes place because there we find Miss Adela Quested, when she goes to see the caves, she feels some kind of hallucination and puts a charge on Dr. Aziz that he had attempted to rape her. So the theme which was there in the first part of the novel, that is mosque, unity and friendship, that shatters, and there is a rage, there is a kind of disintegration in the second part of the novel. The caves themselves symbolize darkness and disintegration. Now, what happens that when the English rule India, when they were ruling India, they were harsh towards Indians, which we find in the novel also. Ronnie Hislop, who is the city magistrate of the city of Chandrapur, just does not give much time to the Indians, and he is a kind of snob who does not deal the Indians nicely. But there are bridge parties, there are tea parties, in order to just develop friendship between the Indians and the English. The tea party is hosted by the friend of Dr. Aziz, that is Mr. Fielding, who is the principal of the Government College of Chandrapur. Now, when the charge by Miss Adela Quested is put on Dr. Aziz, then it is Mr. Fielding who just defends his friend Dr. Aziz by saying that it is not correct, it is not possible that he should have acted like that. And he convinces Miss Adela Quested in the court to take away the charge from Dr. Aziz, and she does so. As a result of which, we find that there is a kind of reconciliation and there is calmness. Calmness comes in the town. Otherwise, there was a rage. There was a lot of difference between the Britishers and the Indians. Dr. Aziz represents the Indian in the novel. Now, what happens in the second part of the novel, that is the caves? When we move to the third part, that is the temple, we find the two characters, Dr. Aziz and Fielding, who were riding on a horse. They again meet after disintegration in the second part of the novel. In the third part, temple, they again meet, and they both were riding on a horse, and they again discuss the topic whether they could be friends. Whether Indians can be friends with the English. But after the bitter experience which Dr. Aziz had faced in the second part of the novel, he becomes very much, you can say, a kind of arrogant towards the Britishers, and just says, "You clear out Turtons and Burtons. We do not want to see you anymore as rulers." Now, when Fielding says that how can you be friends, because there are so many differences among you Indians too. He says that we will keep our differences aside, but at present we want that the Britishers should leave India. If he could not make the Britishers leave, Ahmad will, Karim will let the Britishers leave India. Now, another racial problem which has been discussed in the novel is the differences between the Hindus and the Muslims, which we find in the festival of Muharram. So the various kinds of differences which was there at that time in India has been dealt very nicely by the famous novelist A.M. Forster. Though the novel at the end has an open ending and just says that it is very difficult that the Britishers could be friends with the Indians if they are rulers. Though Forster had tried to make a friendship, Forster was a liberal person, and unlike Kipling, who thought that East is East and West is West, Forster had tried to make friendship between the Indians and the English, but that also fails at the end of the novel. That's all for today.